I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying she gets her day in court. I'm saying a grand jury saw enough evidence to bring charges, and I'm saying she gets to go to court and tell her side of the story, and then we'll see what happens. But I'm just arguing the political debating issue here. Democrats are going to say, this is the first time we've ever had somebody go down the road of selective prosecutions on her. Yeah. Give me a break.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to yesterday's news channel, where we watch CNN so you don't have to. Tonight on CNN's The Arena with Kasie Hunt, Scott Jennings, and the Liberal panel react to President Trump's historic Middle East peace deal, a breakthrough the world said could never happen. The release of the hostages in this peace deal hits close to home for Scott Jennings. One of those freed is Alon Ohel, a young jazz musician who'd been held by Hamas since the attacks. Scott Jennings has developed a friendship with Alon's mother, and you can see it in his reaction. This moment isn't just political commentary for him. You know, it's personal. It's human. It matters. And back here on the home front, former New York Attorney General Letitia James, the woman who built her career on taking down Donald Trump, now finds herself under indictment. Two stories, one message. Actions have consequences. Let's go.
Old school realism won the day here because they won the war.
You know, Trump once said winning solves a lot of problems. And in the case in wars, it's particularly true.
He loves winning, Scott Jennings. And here's what The Economist actually had to say about this. Obviously, not always, propping up the president on the world stage. They said this peace deal is a triumph for Mr. Trump's transactional bullying style of diplomacy. The qualities that enabled Mr. Trump to get a ceasefire, his willingness to bully, escalate, create a burning sense of urgency, are different from the sustained commitment over many years that will be required in his role as the chair of the Reconstruction Authority. So a raised eyebrow, a lot of credit.
Well, it will probably go down as the most historic moment in either of his two presidencies. Peace in the Middle East, when those hostages do walk out, I mean, they think there's 20 that are alive. All day long, I have been thinking about Edith Ohel, who I met in Israel this summer. I was traveling there, and she is the mother of Alon Ohel. You may have heard of Alon. He was taken hostage at the Nova Music Festival. He's the jazz pianist. They have the pianos around, the yellow pianos. And I will never forget meeting with her and just the shattered life of a mother waiting for her son to come home. And now he's going to come home. And Donald Trump is responsible for it. And I just don't think you can take anything away from it. I don't know what Hamas is going to do in the future. I don't think we should trust these people any farther than we can throw them. But for the next few days, when those people come out, this is an unqualified diplomatic victory for the United States of America. It's not just a personal victory for the president, although it is enormous. But this is the power of the United States of America when it has a president that is capable of showing bold and pragmatic leadership on the world stage. So I couldn't be happier, but mostly because of my friend Edith, who I met in Israel. She's going to get her boy back.
You can study and talk about the dynamic until you're actually over there. That's when you really understand the dynamics on the ground. When I was there 5 years ago, Bibi was relatively unpopular. He's even more unpopular today, but he has taken a hard line, and that has helped gel some of his conservative support. How that plays out here at home, we'll see. I mean, I think it is mission critical, and we should definitely celebrate where we are. There's a couple of really major moments that Donald Trump deserves a lot of credit for. But I think over the next, 3 to 4 days, once the hostages come home, we have to hope that phase 2 arrives. And if Trump and Bibi are successful in phase 2, I think that's going to change a lot of the dynamics for both of them.
I'm wondering where all the Free Palestine protesters are going to be over the next few days. We have a lot of demonstrations in this country. Well, Donald Trump just freed Palestine, apparently. And these hostages are coming back. And I just wonder, for all of the anti-American and anti-Western civilization sentiment in these rallies that we've seen, what do they have to say today? I thought we might see a little bit more today, but it makes me wonder what they were rallying for all these months.
I think it's important for all of us to stop and just recognize that what we're seeing right now in the Middle East could be one of the most remarkable diplomatic moments in modern history. Under President Trump's leadership, Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of a peace deal. Hostages released, Israeli troops stepping back, and humanitarian aid flowing into Gaza. That's not just progress. That's a breakthrough the world said could never happen. Even some on the left have to admit this is historic. But true to form, plenty of liberal politicians and pundits are already trying to throw a wet blanket on it, nitpicking the details, downplaying the moment, anything to avoid saying Donald Trump succeeded. Here's how I see it. This deal gives the world something it hasn't had in years and desperately needs: hope. Real, tangible hope that peace in the Middle East isn't just a slogan, it's a possibility. If we're all honest with ourselves, there are a lot of things we can say about Donald Trump, but he just accomplished what generations of world leaders couldn't. History may look back on this as the moment the Middle East finally turned a corner. Now let's see how Tish James is doing. Back to it.
Slam dunk because he was guilty, like the obstruction thing. They all got conflated into one thing. In this case, all I know is what we've reported on air about Letitia James. It sounds pretty flimsy. I think the Comey thing is outrageously flimsy. And the answer that you get from Trump defenders is, well, they started it first, and so therefore two wrongs make a right. And I don't think that's a very sophisticated argument.
Do two wrongs make a right, Scott?
Well, the implication that I don't support the Constitution that you made notwithstanding.
I did not see that.
Excuse me of being an
He's
original.
just famous for being a constitutional originalist.
Here's what I think. If Democrats like Slotkin are going to come out today and whine about selective prosecutions over Tish James, her entire career is built on the selective prosecution of one man. Now, I also believe what Elliot said. There's a process here. Everybody gets their day in court. Obviously, a grand jury saw enough evidence to bring charges. We don't know what they are, but a grand jury looked at this and says, okay, there's something here. She gets to go to court just like Comey, just like anyone else. But to me, it's just not going to fly to boo-hoo over selective prosecutions on this particular person who promised in her campaigns, who went after him on things, as Jonah said, that had no business ever happening, if not but for the man's last name being Trump. So I'm not going to.
How is that not a two wrongs make a right argument?
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying she gets her day in court. I'm saying a grand jury saw enough evidence to bring charges, and I'm saying she gets to go to court and tell her side of the story, and then we'll see what happens. But I'm just arguing the political debating issue here. Democrats are going to say, this is the first time we've ever had somebody go down the road of selective prosecutions on her?
Yeah.
Give me a break.
But my question has sort of been, and this is why I asked her a little bit about this, because as I've been talking to sources, there does seem to be an increasing question about whether the American public feels like the president has gone too far, has gone, and on a host of things. I'm curious if you think that is something that you're also picking up in different areas. I mean, whether it's the visuals of the ICE raids is one in particular, because that was an issue he was so convincingly ahead on. But now there does seem to be this sense among people that are like, hey, you're going after people in my community. I'm not sure I like it so much. But this, I think, plays right into this story as well, right? Like he is yes, he ran on retribution, but now we're seeing it in a pretty aggressive way.
Yeah, I mean, look, the polling suggests that on a bunch of areas he's sort of underwater on some of the things he's doing in terms of sending troops and into cities and whatnot. It's not that they necessarily think Trump's wrong about all of it. It's like he's just taking his eye off the ball. And I think that's dangerous for the midterms, and I think it's dangerous for the Republican Party.
Scott?
Well, back to the political strategy in 2024, what they did with those ads was effectively communicate that the priorities of the Democratic Party had nothing to do with
I agree with that.
the priorities of everyday Americans. But that's really the issue in every election. When the midterms come around, voters will look at all this and say, did he fulfill his promises? Do we feel like the economic trajectory is better? I mean, we're still a year plus out from that.
Sure.
And there's a lot more road to travel. I think on many issues, he has done exactly what he said he was going to do. Immigration is certainly one of them. And then the jury is still out on the economy because so much of his policy is going to play out over the next year. I do think there's a lot of evidence that some of it is working. So, look, ultimately, in government, the checks and balances lie in the hands of the voters. And when we come around next November, they'll decide whether they like it or they don't. And then when we come around in 2028, we'll do it all again. It's worked pretty well for 250 years.
At this point, to me, the Letitia James thing isn't really political anymore. It's almost a commentary or study on human nature. When you build your career on going after someone personally, not politically, you put yourself in the spotlight. And to illustrate what I mean, I've come up with a rare, but in my opinion, very good analogy. It's like two cars speeding past a cop. The one that's just driving fast might get away, but the one screaming out the window, making it personal, flipping the middle finger, showing his ass, saying F the police, will definitely get pulled over. Letitia James made herself the second person in that analogy. Look, if like the liberal panel is saying, if the indictments are flimsy, they'll collapse in court. But I feel like if the left really believed that these cases were flimsy, they'd just let them fall apart and say, look at Trump weaponizing justice on some frivolous garbage. But when they shout witch hunt and political weaponization, to me, it at least seems like they're worried that this blows up their narrative or that there's something real they don't want exposed there. When they scream, it's not about justice anymore, it's fear of accountability. But what do you guys think as far as Letitia James? Is this justice or payback? And what do you think about Trump's peace deal? Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? Could this be a start of a new era? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, that's it for this video. I often comment on this channel that we're building one of the best communities on YouTube. And from some things I've seen recently, I think most of the viewers of this channel are just really kind people. You guys amaze me all the time. I appreciate you. I could go on, but I don't want you to think I'm blowing smoke or you guys get a big head. Nothing else other than the daily reminder to always put God first. I'll see you guys.